It's Vlogmas day 13, and as per usual, um, there's not much scripted here. But today, I figured also I'm doing all of these live. Like, this is my first time doing this. Um, sure, it's not to pat myself on the back, but it's to pat myself on the back because nobody else is going to. It's okay. It's okay. It's alright. This was an impromptu vlogmas. It was impromptu because I have been anticipating getting a new laptop. And in my anticipation for a new laptop, um I wasn't sure what I would and wouldn't be able to um produce and publish over during this season, the season that we're in now. My laptop is getting sent away tomorrow, tomorrow or Monday. So in addition to this being Vlogmas Day 13, this is also going to be um my quote unquote last post of the year for Life with Ken. Now, it may not be the last post, so like it shouldn't take long for the new laptop to come. But why not? I figure I could also use this time to reflect because I have stuff that I want to reflect on. It's the end of the year, so usually that is reserved as a time to reflect. Um, but I haven't really taken the time to reflect because I've been like, excuse me, I've been like, I will get to it. Well, put it off, push it back. I'll get to it. Um, or like, oh, now just really isn't the time for me to reflect in that manner, in that way. I guess the main thing that I would like to reflect on um, are really my ambitions. Um, and whatever is suitable and or isn't suitable will just get cut. Um, because this probably isn't necessarily to the fullest extent that it is to any degree a conversation worth having is one that should be having happen here with you all. But um this is where I'm at. This is what we're doing. And so now it's getting done. Like for example, when I say I'm reflecting on my ambitions, like I'm I guess it's serving a purpose. Sure, it's serving a purpose. More often than not, I don't know. It's just so. Let me go back to what I what I was thinking about originally. Um, my ambitions. When I think about my ambitions, I'm like, okay. Um, and then I often think about a mentor that I used to have. He is since deceased, but he would ask me. He would say, um, "What do you want?" Now, the inflection and intention behind his question towards me was unclear at best or dubious. Um, it was unclear at best or dubious, but the way I'm asking the question now is in consideration and a reflection of where I find myself at in life. And I didn't really consider. Well, so here's what I considered because um, this time last year, I wrote out some goals in my goal notebook that I just looked at, but I'm not going to put on the screen. I wrote out some goals. And um, the first goal was to feel young again. and I recently achieved all of the um, things, all of the sub goals or tasks that I had for that goal. And so I feel good, and I feel like, yeah, all right, I feel good, you know. Um, and in that place of feeling good, like I feel like, yeah, I feel like I'm like in a place that either I was or should have been, um, for one reason or another. I feel good, and so I'm happy about that. Um, and then I moved on to my next goal. Um, and my next goal is about finding love. And then I started thinking about that and meditating on that and contemplating that. And then I spoke to my cousin who just had his birthday. And he was telling me how um, he's at a place in his life. He's younger than me. He's still in his 20s as of the time of this recording. But he was telling me how in his life, he's um, more focused on other things than I was, which is good and he should be. But then I started thinking about what I talked about earlier in Vlogmas about um, having to be first, you know, and not being resentful or hurt about having to be first. Um, I think about I didn't or I didn't feel as though I had the luxury to be as free and as much as myself as I am now. The reason why I am where I am today is because I was breaking free of restraints that kept me from experiencing genuineness within myself. And so now that I'm here, and now that I'm moving on to what's next. So for starters, I'm in transition. Um, but then on the other side of that transition is also like, okay, it's transition, but it also feels like a soft reset too, which is why I feel so good. But then it's also like, okay, well, what do you want now that we're here? And then I think about some of the stuff that I wanted in the past, and like specifically as it relates to life with Ken, and this is where Vlogmas comes in. It's like, why am I doing this? And I ask myself that question so much because when I think about what I want, all I've ever wanted was decent employment, a significant other in some capacity, and some sort of a social life. Well, not a social life, but well, yeah, somewhere to live in a social life, something ambiguous. and and it's just like, okay, I say I want a decent spot, decent employment, you know, and someone to spend some time with in some capacity on different occasions. If that's what I want, why am I sitting up here looking like a Negro dance monkey dance on the internet publishing 25 freaking videos? You know, where and I don't mean to say it with that kind of vitriol, but that's how I feel. I'm like, where is the alignment? Where is the alignment? You know, and then you and then I think about this venture and all the things that I'm doing right now, and I just feel like life is so uncertain, you know. I just feel like there's so many things that are unsure, and for me, doing this is like a slice of surety. Um, but then you get frustrated, like, how did I get here? How did I get so far off the path? And it's like I didn't get off the path. It's just that the path isn't the path that you thought the path was. And like that that part, you know, the path isn't what you think it is. That's the hard part for me. And that's the part that I'm reflecting on right now. And that's the part um that's making me reconsider stuff, you know. But it's like what am I reconsidering? You know? And is there any impact behind my reconsideration? You know, and then you wrestle, or I wrestle with like the what if of it all. But then you also have to deal with the right now of it all. And then you also have to deal with how you feel right now, you know. But then I think that like if I deal with how I've felt right now, then I wouldn't be doing this. And I would have stopped doing it a long time ago if I was just considerate of how I feel right now. But again, I feel like the other side of it is um, considering the results. And considering the results, um, I don't know. I don't believe that this is the best use of my time considering the results. And when I say I don't believe this is the best use of my time considering the results, I'm saying that I find this to be valuable, but unfortunately, as of this moment right now, based on the data that I have, it's not the most fruitful endeavor in the way that I would like fruit. Like, I wanted oranges and I'm getting guavas. And guavas are okay. Nothing wrong with the guavas. But I still need some oranges because oranges are valuable. Because oranges are what the people want. And when you live in a society, you got to figure out how to get along with your for yourself, and the way you get along for yourself is by getting along with the people. And so, if I show up to a market with a bunch of guavas and don't nobody want no guavas, you have people come up to you. You know, I would buy from you if you had some oranges, and like I just feel like I just don't have any oranges. Bunch of fruit, just the wrong fruit. Yeah, or not even the wrong fruit, because the wrong fruit diminishes, you know, the impact, or not the impact, the product. I'm not going to diminish the product at all. The product is great, but yeah, the impact of the product is ultimately insignificant. You know, it's like you make an iPhone 17, for example. Let's say the iPhone 17 didn't sell. The best, most powerful, top of the line product, but it's just sitting on the store shelves. Nobody wants it. You know, you're like, why? And it's we're good. And you think to yourself, why am I producing this? If that is the case. And again, the faith says try, but then the reality says we've been trying for X amount of time. And it's not about the time, but it's about like I there's not a whole lot of iteration. Like what else do you want me to do? You want me to dance, I'll dance. You want me to sing, I'll sing. You want me to write, I'll write. You want me to be on video, I'll be on video. You want me to do commentary, I'll do commentary. You want me to do a newsletter, I'll do a newsletter. You want me to have a store and different products, I'll have a store and different products. Like what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Um, and it's not even necessarily what do you want from me. It's more like this is what I have to offer. And like, and then I feel bad and I get emotional about it because then I think about, just life and just the difficulties of life of like this is what I have to offer and just one time after another time after another time people are just saying, well, yeah, I understand what you have to offer, I just don't want it. you know I can talk about the most practical experience when I was in um insurance. I could sit there and explain till I'm blue in the face and pitch and sell and go to different events and become studied and learned on the product and believe in the product, and for one reason or another, people just didn't want it. And yeah, there's a conversation to be had about audience. There's a legitimate conversation to be had about audience. Um and like I guess I don't want to say I guess I'm looking for my audience, but maybe that's what's happening here. Um like where are there people that exist that want to hear from someone like me in this format? Are there enough people that exist that want to hear from someone like me in this format? Are there enough paying people that exist that want to hear from someone like me in this format? You know, and so that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm reflective on as 2025 ends and 2026 begins. Um, I think I'm gonna be a little less ambitious. I, I think I would love to. I would be so happy to eat these words, but it's okay. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a step back and um, just be more considerate and reconsider some of the things that I pursue and go after from this point forward. But I said that after I published my book as well, though. Like, after I published my book, I also said the same thing of like, okay, you know, I would love to have given this book that I thought about writing called, um, I was gonna call it a certain name, but the book was about it was gonna be a slice of life story about love. It was a romance narrative um that I really still to this day want to kind of put pen to paper to, um but I just don't feel incentivized enough. I don't feel like it makes sense enough. Um and then the other issue is, do you keep art locked away just because you don't feel like it's being appreciated? But then the other point is, isn't that the point of artificial intelligence, that art isn't appreciated? And who cares the kind of art you're doing if you're a lone wolf in the wilderness? And I feel like I think about Ezekiel sometimes in the Bible. Like when I think about my prophetic mantle, I think of Ezekiel and just like some crazy N word in the middle of the street. It just I'm not gonna sit here and cry for you all, or if I do, I'll cut it. But it just doesn't feel or seem meaningful or impactful. And God told Ezekiel that. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna call you," because Ezekiel was supposed to be a pastor. He had turned 27, 28, whatever he had turned, and he was at the point where his career was supposed to start. He was at the point where he had graduated, got his master's degree, and was ready to get a good job. He was at the point where he had was ready to go into clinical hours or whatever the situation was, and start professing his profession. Um, and then I believe Israel was attacked, or they were about to get attacked. Something happened where it didn't materialize for him in that way. Um, and then God came to him, and he was called to be a prophet. But in the midst of his calling, God informed him that, like, yeah, people probably aren't going to listen to you. It's okay. So I say all that to say this can feel like that sometimes. And I don't know if that is in alignment with what I want out of life. Um, and so I will be doing further um, reflection offline about where to go from here, because I see value. And I'm not saying we're going to stop doing this, but I don't know if it's meaningful for us to continue to do this in this way. Because the other word that I received this year as I'm reflecting is that I'm doing too much. Again, after I published my book, you know, I've been on a podcast tour for a little while, and I recorded a show. I don't know if the host is gonna. Well, I hope he publishes it. I think he said he was gonna publish it, but I was telling the host some of the plans that I had for the future, and he was like, "Bro, you're doing too much." And I'm like, "I know, because I feel like I'm doing too much." And right before I spoke with him, I spoke with someone else who also said, "You're doing too much." And so I'm doing a lot at a relatively high level. The only reason it may not be more highly considered is because I just don't have funding behind me, but I'm doing a lot at a high level. Um, and I need to figure out how to adjust in a way where um, I'm doing what I feel like I should be doing, like what I feel like I'm led to do, and what um, is of meaning and of value and of worthy worship to the Lord. Um, but also, I can't do stuff that's going to make me not like myself. Um, Like the current events was a great example, and I talked about this during Vlogmas. If you've been hanging out with me for this long on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out on this Saturday. That's another thing. It's Saturday. I usually try not to do anything on Saturdays, so that might be flattening my effect right now. I'm also hungry, and I have like little to no libations in the house, so I'm just regardless. But like, share, and subscribe for more content. There will be more content, even though I'm talking about not doing content. No, there will no, there will still be content. But yeah, um, like, share, and subscribe to help support this channel and to help it grow. If you're watching us on YouTube, um, if you're watching this on Substack, please do the same. And cross over. YouTube people, check out our Substack. Substack people, go check out our YouTube for more lifestyle content and uh, motivation, inspiration, and stuff to just help you live more confidently. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do. That's what I've been led to do. That's what part of what my skill set lends itself to. I went to school. I got my master's in psychology. you know I'm a propagandist at best. Like, in the world of like corporate life, I'm a propagandist at best. you know I'm getting my data analytics certification so I can interpret data. I'm also skilled at that. My degree specializes me and empowers me to be able to operate within communities for the purpose of achieving greater goods, applied social and community psychology. So I can work within the context of a group of individuals, gather a consensus. That's where the data analysis specialty comes in. And with the gathering of that consensus, I can deploy stratagem. That's where the applied aspect comes from. So, um, in the corporate world, though, um, as a black man, and I know it's a shame, I wish we could stop talking about race. It's 2025. Stop talking about race. You can't, it's unfortunate, though, because when I apply for a job or when I show up to a place and I see this neo slave master looking at me, I have to be aware of what's going through his head. Like that. I'm also a stakeholder manager. Like, um, I have to be considerate of what the other person is thinking. And even though they may not be consciously considering my race, subconsciously, within respect to the corporate world in particular, subconsciously, I have to deal with a man that may say to himself, now, do I really want to help this young black man be able to pay off his college loans, buy food every week, put gas in his car, and afford rent? Do I want to help this young black man do that? Or do I want to help this young white man do that? And this young white man, he's not as skilled as this young black man who has a master's and he's an author and he publishes content and blah, 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 blah. But this white man, is some form of continuing a legacy, is some form of helping someone that looks like me, is some form of perpetuating the hierarchy and perpetuating the patriarchy. It's some form of self-preservation, you know. Why? And so I have to be considerate that this person might be considerate of that for themselves, that they might be afraid of me for one reason or another when they see my application, and their fear and or lack of interest in helping me in general leads me to have to deal with certain things that I may otherwise not have to deal with. Um, Work is a scam. Can we just work is a psyop and it's a scam. It's literally a curse. So like all of humanity is cursed. Like, It's probably like the worst thing you can do with your existence. Like, I'm gonna give you my theology on this. My This is why I did not finish. Um, not this isn't why I didn't finish seminary, but part of me finishing seminary was articulating this, a certain aspect of this that I didn't feel comfortable articulating because it didn't feel like it was of value to do so. It felt like it was idea farming. And I'm not a slut for Jesus. I'm not a hoe for the Lord. I'm sorry. You know, you're not shout out to worship leaders out there. Shout out to clergy and those who work in the house. But it's hard for me. It's not in my alignment. I said I want to know God, not study him. And you have a lot of atheists who have studied the Lord. And then you have a lot of people who say they love the Lord but don't really know him. And so, I didn't like the impact seminary was having on my relationship with God. In the same way, I'm not necessarily a fan of what I'm doing being in conflict with what I want or not serving it in the way that it may need to be served. I don't know the future. I know that the future is coming up in another second, another second, another second, another second. Like it's always happening. I know that after I finish doing this, I'm going to do something else. But I don't know much more than that. Like speculation, unfortunately. If speculation was more of a strength of mine, I'd be rich. Things would be a lot different, and you wouldn't be getting this video. And you're gonna get this shit. You're gonna get this shit today, bro. I don't care. Oh, it's unbecoming. It's this. It's that. Well, you know what? More people need to watch for their opinion to matter. Okay. So, but this is what I'm saying. This is the tragedy of the trauma of my lived experience because I started communicating because I felt like the people whom was there for me to communicate with wasn't considerate of my communication. And now I'm sitting here liberated from that experience and I'm thinking, why am I still communicating? I did it before because I wanted to get free. I'm free. Why am I still doing it? It's it's a and so that's where I'm at right now. I guess you can call it a bit of I guess you can call it a bit of a business identity crisis to the degree that it's a business. Now, it would be different if cash was flowing. If cash was flowing, then all of a sudden, this would be a different tone from my reflection video for the year, but cash isn't flowing, so here we are. I mean, cash is flowing, but I'm working, and I just told you that cash isn't flowing if I'm working then because we're talking about um life with Ken. But you also have to create space for yourself. You also have to give yourself opportunity. Because that's one thing that I could be jaded about. I thought opportunity came, I thought it was earned. Oh, you do good enough and someone will acknowledge you. Oh, hey, this thing just popped up. And when you're younger, sure, maybe that happens more often. But at a certain point in life, it's like if you don't change shit, shit ain't gonna change. And I feel like that right now. Whereas like if I don't do something else, then this is what it will be. Is that it? I think that's it. We'll take it.